Hello, all you beautiful, creative people. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. I am starting a little, I guess you could call it a mini series on wrecked ring pours. I did my very first wrecked ring pour. Actually, it was not a ring pour that I wrecked. It was actually a blow dryer technique. And I had it puddled in the center. This was over 5 years ago I tried this. Had it in the, blew everything into the center, swirled a stick through it, and then stretched it out. And I liked that so much that I ended up doing a ring pour because I used to love ring pours when I started, and kind of I still do, I guess. But I ran a stick through that, and that was kind of my very first wrecked ring pour that I had done. And that was like 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago. So I've been doing a lot of designs lately and playing around with pearl paints, and it just came to me. I had one painting with pearl white where I wrecked it, and I really didn't like that design. And that got me to thinking, well, which ways do I like to actually swipe through the paintings? So I'm going to go through a little mini series of kind of my do's and don'ts and what I like, just really to see and experiment and find out which designs I truly like, so that I don't get a beautiful painting and then end up swiping through it a way that I don't really care for. There's going to be some things to think about. The colors that you use together. And so I'll be walking you through all of my colors for each of these videos. You'll want to think about obviously the way that you wreck it, the way that you drag your tool through it. You're also going to want to think about the way that you tilt, because that's going to matter as well. And then I'll give you some tips and tricks along the way. I have my little sheet here. I have some, but I've already started thinking about more. So I think I have like 8 or 9 designs. I'm not going to do them all, sequentially. They'll be spread out over the next few months, but I'm excited for this little mini series. I have my back to the basics. I want to revisit the Dream Cloud, and I want to revisit my Bright Line series. So if there's anything that you want to see that I haven't done in a while, drop it in the comments and let me know, and I will walk you through kind of what my process is now versus 5 years ago when I started, what my process was then. But let's paint. All right, for this color palette, I chose 2 light colors, and in a ring pour, I like contrast, so I chose 2 dark colors, and then I chose 1 brighter color. So 2 darks, 2 lights, and a bright. So I've got sky blue light, Naples yellow. I have got a blue violet, which dries a very dark color. I've got bluish green or greenish blue. I always forget. It's by Amsterdam. And then I've got regular bright magenta. So those are my colors. And I will explain to you why I layer them a certain way, or at least what my thought process is. So you always want to think, especially for a ring pour, first thing is consistency. It is thicker than other consistencies. So definitely thicker than the blow dryer. These are the paints that I use for my swipe technique. So I already have them mixed. That's what I'm going to use. But if you notice that your colors bleed into one another too much, or that your rings aren't staying in a ring shape, it could mean one of 2 things. One, your consistency of one of the colors is off. If you start getting jagged lines, that's almost always an indicator. So you can do a little drip consistency test. The other thing is the way that you are pouring them out of the cup, or the way that you're tilting them. So I guess there's 3 things. So all of that goes into making this painting. It seems so easy when you are doing it, but there's a lot that actually goes into the thought process behind it. So I'm going to start with my cup here, and I am going to start. So you always want to think whatever goes in the bottom of the cup is what is going to come out last on the canvas, and it's going to be the center or the focal point. Next thing I'm thinking is, what colors do I not specifically want to be maybe right beside each other if they blend together too much? So for me, the Naples yellow and the purple, I think, are the only 2 that I want to maybe switch up just a little bit. because of the layering, I don't want to have one of them first and last because they'll meet again in the next layer. So again, lots to think about with these. So I think I'm going to start maybe with the light blue, and then I want to alternate them. So I'm going to do light blue, purple, and I always line them, or I try to line them up on the side so that I remember how I did them, because when I'm talking to you and painting, it just goes all over the place. So then I think I'll do this and then yellow. Okay, so I have my order. So I am going to, maybe I'll do it this way first. I'm going to do the light blue in the center because I think that'll be a pretty color for the center. I'm going to alternate it with a dark color next. I'm going to go with my bright color in the middle, and these two colors, if they mix, will be very pretty. And these two colors, if they mix, will be very pretty. So I'm going light, dark, bright, light, dark. And then this dark will meet this light the next time that I layer them around again. And those two colors will blend to be pretty, I'm hoping. So that is why I'm going to layer that way. Oh gosh, I almost put them back down in the wrong order. Okay, so I'm going to start here. And you also want to think about I could write like a little mini book on this. You also want to think about the size of the layers. Do you want not a ton of lines in your painting, or do you want a lot of lines and interest in your painting? If you want more interest, more design, then you layer thinner layers in the cup. If you want thicker, bold kind of pops of color with less lines, then you layer more of the color in the cup. Okay, so less lines equals more paint per layer. More lines equals less paint per layer. Whew. Okay, that is a mouthful. All right, so I'm going to, is there something in my cup? I feel like there's some, okay, it was on the outside. So I'm going to start here. I tilt my cup to the side. And I'm going to pour that first little part down in the bottom. You want a good amount of paint on the bottom. I normally come up to the little lip that's there on the cup. But if you put too much, that bottom color will basically take over your painting as you stretch it out. So you don't want too much in the bottom. And I have had that happen as well. I've had just about everything happen that you could imagine in the acrylic pouring world. Okay, got my colors here. Another reason for wonky lines could also be that you have a lump in your painting, and that has happened in your paint. That has happened to me as well. And oops, see, I saw quite a bit of lumps in that right there. I did not strain that one. Let me see if I can get that out. Okay, I just strained that out. I was able to get most of it out of there as well. It was like the lump was a paid actor in the paint. So if you're getting wonky lines and it's just like in one little place, it's likely that there is a little clump of something in it. And you need to get those out before you start stretching, or it will kind of mess up the design a little bit. Whew, okay. That was the one paint. I stirred it and I was like, yeah, looks good. I don't need to strain that one. All right, so next I'm gonna repeat this layer here. You can see it as it pours out of the cup sometimes if it's a large lump of something. And it just comes from the little bits that are actually on the rim as I'm pouring them out of my big containers. It's little dried particles that are there. And the way to get around that is to wipe the lid and the rim of the container before you put the lid back on if you're saving them to reuse them. And I paint all day and forget to do that a lot of times. Okay, got that one. My next one here. color. Okay, I'm gonna go around one more time. So I've got a good amount of layers in here. I'm normally looking to try to get at least 2 or 3 layers out of my 20-ounce cup. I went pretty good on the purple, used all that up. I'm gonna go in with a little bit chunkier layer of these on the top because this will be what spills off the side anyway. Oh my goodness, was this a perfect amount of paint? Whoo, it was. Okay. That is another tip. I have like all these things coming into my mind as I'm doing these. Try to make sure that you have enough paint, especially for a ring pour if you're trying to hold the design. With a rect ring pour, it's not, as noticeable, but if you really want to try to stretch that out all the way to the edge, especially if it's on a square or a rectangular type canvas, you need enough paint to be able to manipulate it, drag it over the sides, let it fall over the sides, and then still be able to keep the design that you want. So I used up all my colors here. I am going to pour this out. Now you can pour from different sides. You can pour from this top ring up here. You can pour from where you layered them all in. I like to start where all my colors meet one another here. So I like pouring out of this side. But if your colors aren't, like if you don't want your colors to blend a ton, then I would pour starting out of this side over here. All right, so let's see. I like pouring a little bit to the outside and then bringing it in. And then I like rotating it a little bit to get all of my colors. On equal sides. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. I'm really concentrating on trying to get this out. Oh no, I'm laughing. Oh no, oh no. Oh gosh. Okay. I was holding my breath at the end. When I laugh, my hand shakes. So the reason that I rotated halfway through here is because if I hadn't, all of my light blue would have kept coming out of this one side. It's just the timing of how my wrist motion is going. And so by changing the direction, I actually started getting the blue on this side of the ring pour. Whew. Okay. Let's talk for a second about wrecking tools. You can use anything, really. You could use your finger. You can use the back of a brush if you want. This has thicker. I like the thin ones. This is just a skewer, like a barbecue skewer. It's wooden, and so I can reuse them. You could use this and turn it to the side. I have found if I use this flat, like if I wrecked it through this way, the colors get a little bit muddier because the surface area that I drag it through is actually much wider. So I don't normally use that one. I like a very thin skewer type. You can also use a palette knife and turn it to the side if that's what you've got. You can use a comb, which we'll be doing a little bit later, to get lots of lines at one time that are like spaced apart. I think I have one of those. Yep. One of my viewers sent me some that are pretty interesting that I'll be using. So there's those. So there's all kinds of different tools that you can use to wreck this. Okay, so my first one that I'm going to do, I thought about just doing like 2 lines through it, and I will do that one, but for this first one, I actually think I am going to do all the same lines in a motion like that. Pop all my air bubbles out of there. And then the last thing you want to decide is, do you want to wreck your center or not? And I think for this one, I'm actually going to leave my center as is. So I'm going to come through. My first line is going to be right there. My next line right here, all in the same direction. Little bit different there at the end. Okay, so that was all in the same direction with a squiggly line. So as I go through these, I have like a lot of different patterns to try. I have some that look like flowers, that pattern, which I think will probably be better spinning it out, but I have ones like that. I have some curly Q ones. I have straight hatchwork patterns. I have all kinds to try for these. And if you have any that you want me to try, just let me know. All right, I feel like I have talked, I'm like out of breath. I feel like I've talked a lot in this video, but there was a lot to tell you if you're trying this technique. I know some of you have been with me for years and you've been painting yourself for years, but there are some people that literally have just started and just picked this up. So I like to try to cater to everyone. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start in just a circular motion here. And I lost a little bit of my yellow, which is kind of sad because I really liked that Naples color, and that's going to go off my sides. But I have a little bit of it as it's stretching out here. I was debating putting this down and turning the camera, but I think I'm just going to keep it up. I'm just working my way right around the sides. And I don't want to lose that full blue part in the center. So I think I'm going to start with just this edge right here, working it on over, bringing it back, coming down to this corner, bringing it back. And as you stretch it out, you also get to see all the beautiful colors that were underneath those rings. I don't want to lose, I left that corner for last because I'm going to try to save that little piece of yellow. Yep, right there. Whew. Okay. Okay, a few observations here. First observation is the one, I like the colors, so I guess that'll be the first one. Two, you can see the blue that I put into the bottom. That is what I mean by that will become a majority of your design because it comes out of the cup last. It's normally in the center, and as you stretch it out, it gets stretched out further towards the edges. So that's the first thing. Second thing, which is kind of the point of the video, is I like the wrecking pattern that I used. So that was just moving in one direction with squiggly lines across. I like that I left the center on this one as well. Now for colors and layering the ring pour, the yellow got a little bit lost. It's still there. It is just actually mixed in with the pink and almost it's overlaid on top of it. So I have little tiny pops of yellow in certain places, which I do actually really like. I do wish it had been a little bit more. So one, if my consistency is off just a tiny little bit, that can do that. It can the color can kind of disappear underneath. Two, if I didn't use a big enough layer of it to really stand out. And also, depending on what color it is, it can be almost tinted by other colors. So I think I layered the magenta, the bright magenta next to it. So I think that it just kind of blended with that and the magenta kind of overtook that pale yellow. I love the green that came through here. So this is from the yellow and the green mixing together. That created a really pretty color. So again, it's almost like that light color got tinted a little bit. My center, there's just one tiny little wonky part in there, so I may actually draw that in. Yes. Okay, and then I may just take my skewer and kind of run it through there. Yes, yes, yes. So I like the colors. The layering was very interesting to see how the Naples yellow fit into that. The actual wrecked design was really interesting. And in my next videos like this, I won't have to go through that entire intro again. I will just link this video for you to be able to come back to. So they'll be a little bit shorter in length. I'm sorry that I took up so much of your time, but if you're still here watching me say that, thank you very much. Most people are already done by this point. Anywho, I'm gonna finish. I had already taken a pause and fixed up my sides and given it a good torch. So I'm gonna show you what this looks like wet, and then we'll see how it dries. Okay, so here it is. These were, I would say, medium layers towards the outer edges and smaller layers towards the center. So you can see the difference in how many lines there are. Bigger layers out here, smaller layers in there. But I love the light blue. Again, wish I'd had a little bit more of my yellow peeking through, but you can see those pretty colors right there. And then down towards that edge. So let's see how it dries. Here it is. There was so much that I learned from this one, or some good teaching points in here. So I love the colors first. I am missing my yellow. So the Naples yellow definitely in the mixture. You can see it up here. It's very light in multiple areas, but it definitely got tinted with the other colors and down here as well. And I used the same amount basically. So I love the wrecking design in this one. The same kind of motion from up here through there, it gives it a really, really nice dimension. So I'll be taking a look at all these different wrecking patterns to see, but this one definitely, I really enjoy that pattern. My lines held pretty well together, so thicker paint for those lines, and then thinner lines for thinner layers and thicker lines for thicker layers. And then in the center, if you have trouble pouring it out, don't be afraid to take your finger and simply make your own center. But that one really looks like a vortex in the center. It is super cool. I'm glad I left that majority of that center just as a regular ring pour. But yeah, so there we have it. Please let me know if you like this series. I have quite a few videos planned for it, so I'm hoping that you do. And let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them within the videos. And I just thank you so much for watching. All right, happy painting, everyone. Bye.